Welcome. It's so good to be here tonight. Looking forward to our discussion and the teaching by Terry Hayes. Da-da. That's so we're so glad to have everybody with us tonight. Those of you, and I've got a frog in my throat. I was going to say it a minute ago. So those of you that are watching us through one of our two Facebook pages, A Simple Walk or B'nai Noach Fellowship. Did I get that right? Yeah. We thank you so much. Now, Simple Walk, you can share those videos with all your social media platform. And you can always find us on YouTube at Outreach Noah. And while you're over there, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. And I'll just go ahead and say about the email address, send the email, any email, good or bad. And we like to delete the bad ones and save the good ones. So you can send it to outreachnoah@gmail.com. And you can go to the webpage at outreachnoah.com. I think I got all them. And, somebody?
Yep. No, you can.
Broadcasting from the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, you're listening to Power Faith Radio. Power Faith Radio, we appreciate everybody listening there. The Georgia group has chimed in. They got 48 with them tonight. And the coffee shop group said they had 14 and 2 more families coming on the way. And I've been trying to find out more about this coffee shop group. And I know they're down in Florida, but I just don't know. What was you going to say, Terry?
Oh, I'd probably spoil their group. I don't drink coffee, but I'm into the tea.
Yeah.
They have coffee and I can have tea and we can all have donuts together. And
I think a lot of those coffee houses are doing teas now. So yeah. Okay. All right, Terry, do you want to greet everybody and I'll get ready with our Tzedakah time tonight?
All right. Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining us again. Here in our Zoom room tonight, we have Miss Amuela. And keep her in your prayers. She's not feeling that well tonight. And Ronald and Veronica, Wendell, and Miss Annie. And I believe Warwick says he had a hospital visit or something like that tonight.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's today over there. Today, they're Back to the Future over in Australia. It's
yeah.
We're here at Wednesday night, and they're at Thursday midday.
Yeah.
And then we have Chris just joined us.
Hello, Christopher.
Fred.
Hello.
I saw a post right before I got on that Fred was asking for prayers too. He said he's
yes. He sent me a message and said add him to the Tzedakah list tonight.
Okay, you about ready?
I'm ready. Are you? Okay, I'm ready.
I'm here. I'm not there, but I'm here.
You're here.
For you, okay. I'm over yonder.
Exactly. Up and under. You're up and under over yonder. So, okay, it's good to have everybody with us tonight. We want to thank you that participated in our Tzedakah time, and we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. As always, we give Tzedakah for our Terry and I's main teacher, Pesach and Shira Sherbo, and they live in Sfat, Israel. We're giving Tzedakah for them tonight. Also, Chrissy Seaton, I think is what most people call her, Thompson. I think she's not feeling very well, so we're giving Tzedakah for her tonight. And also Ethelene Moore. And we want to remember Ethelene Moore. She is about to leave this walk of life to journey into the next. And so we're giving Tzedakah for her tonight. Also for Philip Hayes. Terry, would you give us an update on your dad, Philip Hayes?
He's about the same, but slowly, digressing and everything. I talked to him for about a minute, maybe 2 minutes Sunday, and he was able to only say a couple of words. But my brother called me when I was on my way home tonight from work and said he had a really good day today. He was coherent. So we're thinking that some of the medications, the pain medications they're having to give him, I think is messing with his mind a little bit. But he's continuing to lose more weight and skin color changing and things like that.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep him in our prayers. So we're giving tzedakah for Philip Hayes tonight. Also, we're giving tzedakah for Wendy Shepherd tonight. We haven't heard. Have you heard anything about Wendy Shepherd, Ronald?
No, I've reached out to her through WhatsApp, but I haven't had a response as yet.
Okay. Also, Nadine Akins is on our tzedakah list tonight. And then, as we said, as Terry said just a few minutes ago, Fred Lee Rawls is on our tzedakah list tonight. He needs to get well soon. Also, William and Tina Lyons, the lady that we mentioned a few minutes ago, Ethelene Moore, who is about to leave this walk of life. That is Tina Lyons' mother. And so we've got the family on our tzedakah list. Also, Clifford Houle. We've got Clifford Houle still on our tzedakah list. And Ronald Dickman. Ronald, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine at the moment. I had an MRI last week, and I've got an appointment in January, so hopefully some results will be in for the MRI so they can deal with both or one of the two issues.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got you on our tzedakah list. We're going to continue that. And then also, Amuela, this is your dollar. Somebody always sends that in to be included in the tzedakah. So this is just like you sent that to us, and we have put it in our tzedakah list, tzedakah time. And then also, Veronica Port, they have included you in that, and I didn't lay out enough over here. And then also Thomas Schaus, they have included him in this as well. And then Warwick Marshall, we talked about him just a few minutes ago, that he's on a journey to a doctor. Can you tell us any more about that, Ronald? Do you know?
No, he was a bit light on what it was, but he said he wouldn't be here today because he had to go to the hospital for an appointment. I know he had an MRI himself the other day, around the same time I did actually, but he didn't say what, but I think he is having a lot of frontal head pain from when he had the tumour removed, but I'm not sure if that's why he's there today or it's something else. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to continue to remember him, and also we're giving Thanksgiving tzedakah for Mary Parsons. Thanksgiving for Wendell's. Wendell, you don't have no snow up there, do you?
Yes, we do now.
Oh, where is Mary?
Yeah, so she was out brushing off the cars today.
I've waited a year for you to tell me that. Okay, well, we thank the Creator
that she can do
out there. That she can do it. She's out there brushing the snow off for Wendell. Okay, and in our blessed memory tzedakah tonight, we have Johnny Moore in our blessed memory tzedakah list tonight. Would you help us pray tonight? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears prayers and supplications, our King. Do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us, answer us, and listen to our prayers. Amen. All right, Terry, give me just a minute here because I'm fixing to bring you some questions that have. Would you like to say anything before I start here, Terry, or you want me just to?
I'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Whatever you got planned. You sent me a message on. I was on my way home. He goes, "I've got something for you." I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And by the way, this is impromptu. It is not rehearsed, not planned for. Y'all were hearing it for the first time, like me.
Okay. Okay. So, over the past couple of teachings, couple of Wednesday nights, you have mentioned the Torah as if the Torah is the necessity part of what people call the Bible. So could the text that is outside the Torah exist without Torah?
No.
And why is that?
Well, there are some claims that some certain text is based on it, and there are parts of it. It's when you you're gonna get me in trouble.
I am going to get you. Listen, they're going to get a little better. I am going to get you in trouble tonight. And Chris, just to let you know, I can see he is inching closer to the screen because he would love to get in on this. So,
there are claims that certain outside of Torah sources is based on the Torah. The Torah is mentioned in those sources, but when you really get down and dig into certain things, it's not really based on it. I mean, because if it was based on it, it would be a lot stronger in certain areas where it's not. And I'm trying to choose my words there.
yeah.
You want some really, well, no, never mind. I'm not going to say that. There's some studies I was about to mention that actually I had done when I was studying for my credentials in the past. So the Torah is the foundation. Matter of fact, the Jewish Torah sages teaches us that it's actually the blueprint of creation. That it actually, if I understand what the way the sages mentioned, it pre-existed the creation, and the Creator actually used it as the blueprint. And that's a very deep subject that we don't have to get into. It doesn't mean anything for our purpose and existence in life. But it just once you understand certain aspects of Torah, you can see that in the Torah as you learn it, and even learn it in kind of a depth way.
Okay, so so Torah principles, Torah responsibilities, Torah mentioned obligations, Torah commandments. What does the word Torah mean? What are you talking about when you say Torah? What is that?
Torah, like I said the other day, it has a word in it that's or, which is in the Hebrew it's or, it's light, but in its simplest meaning and understanding, it is teachings, instructions.
Okay. In dealing with the entire biblical text, what people, some people claim different biblical texts, but about all of them have somewhat, except it may be translated a little wrongly, different. But Torah, is there any commandments outside of Torah?
Outside of Torah?
Yes.
Commandments from the Creator. Talking about commandments from the Creator.
Yes. Torah houses the commandments, the responsibilities, obligations. Is there any outside of Torah in the biblical text? Now, I know we have the Mishnah Torah and we have other things of that general, but
the commandments are found within the Torah. Now, if you're referring to the prophets and the writings, all of those uphold that which was already given. They do not add anything new. If they add anything new, then it's considered false and is kicked out. And actually, those who would have actually said they've got something new to add would have been put to death. In Israel, it's a death penalty.
And that's within the prophets and the scripture, right?
Yes. The prophets are there to uphold. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, especially if you read in the book of Judges, there's multiple times that Israel, they journeyed off the path, what they call in Hebrew off the derech, off the path. God sent them into captivity, And then after they were there for a while, they'd cry out and God would raise up a Moshiach. That's what it is in the Hebrew, a Moshiach. He would come and go get them and bring them back. And 100% of every time it says that the Moshiach restored Israel back to the Torah.
Okay.
But every time they journeyed away from the Torah, they were sent into captivity.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to get to a place of nations in the Torah, but not yet.
And I guess I can read this part here that
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
kind of is in line with what you're talking about. It's really interesting. Rabbi Ariel Kaplan had put together a 2-volume handbook on various subjects of Israel, the Torah, just everything related to that. And he's a very respected rabbi of blessed memory who passed away, I think in the 80s. And I have quite a few of his writings. He's really, really good writer. And he translated a lot of stuff from Hebrew into English and did commentaries from Hebrew to English as well. But here he has, matter of fact, in the chapter on the Torah itself, in the chapter 7, paragraph 87, it says, for over 3,000 years, the Torah has been kept by the Jewish people. Not so much because of miracles, which that's one thing Israel doesn't. You're not permitted to worship God and to serve God out of miracles. That's a big no. They happen, but they're not. It's a total different subject there. But he says, not but so much because of the miracles which accompanied its revelation, which there was miracles that accompanied the revelation when the Creator was speaking at Mount Sinai on, I believe it's Safan 6 of that year, and what we call Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, the giving of the Torah. There were miracles that happened, things that are written in the history and tradition of Israel that most people don't know about what happened on that day. When, matter of fact, in the Hebrew it says that they saw the words. When he spoke, they saw the words. But they didn't keep it because of that. It says, but because it embraces the depths and heights of human nature, fulfilling a need that God knows it says, fulfilling a need that God knows to exist in man. The Torah is therefore intrinsically perfect and requires no further external evidence for the truth that it teaches. For that is the reason why the psalmist said, as we covered last week, the Torah is perfect and it restores the soul. And so the purpose of the Torah is to teach us how to live and to use the human nature that God gave us. But there's more to that than just those few words, which I know we'll be getting into. Go ahead, Scotty.
Okay. So you mentioned something that was actually one of the questions. I thought we was to judge the proof of Torah following by miracles.
No.
And somebody else brought up at the same time, well, there were people that performed miracles that did not maybe follow Torah, but we followed the miracles because they were still prevalent and powerful. So what?
No.
Let's go into this a little bit more.
Matter of fact, when the Torah teachers, the rabbi, the Torah teachers, the sages and stuff say, if you get sick, you do not believe in a miracle, you go see a doctor. We are not to believe in miracles. We're not to believe in them as far as their power.
That's not saying that they won't happen.
That right. Matter of fact, Deuteronomy 13 tells us
yes
to be careful with, prophets that come showing miracles, even if they come true. You have to judge them. God is sending them. A miracle can be testing you to see if you're going to follow God or follow the miracle. But no, we don't follow the miracle. The Torah is observed one for all, and again, and we're speaking broadly here when we say the Torah is observed especially by the nations. That has to be clarified, which I know we'll get to here in a little bit. But the Torah is observed for our benefit and for what I want to say here for the nations. When we go to Genesis chapter 2:16, where it says, "Va'asav Hashem Elohim al Hadam," and it is God commanded man. That is the only reason why you observe the Torah, is because you are told to. You don't follow. If you're following and observing the Torah and trying to do what you're supposed to be doing because of some miracle or some other agenda, then you're not considered one of the pious of the nations. The only reason why to do the Torah solely and only for the Creator himself, and that's it. If you're doing it because you think you're going to get to an eternal resting place, then that's another agenda. It's the wrong reason. There are people that have said in the past, there's phrases, these 7 and go to heaven. No. We only do this for the sake of the Creator only. And not even really for your sake do you observe, even though that happens. You're blessed, and and things go good for you when you obey Daddy, but we only do it to obey Daddy. That's our only agenda.
Yeah. So, okay, in that text you mentioned a minute ago, it talked about a dreamer of dreams, someone who would talk about wonders, and those things happen, like you said, those things come to pass. What is the judging principle that even though this person comes in and does these things and they are overwhelming, what is the thing that people need to watch for that lets them know that this person is not legit?
Okay, hold on here. Let's go over there and find.
These are really good questions here. So
no, they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
This is what Outreach Noah is here for, because we've studied, we've learned, we've got our teachers that we've been under, and they've set us forth to go and teach, and we've gained trust with them. And believe it or not, they watch what we do, and if we get out of line with what we're saying according to the Torah, because it's important, which I'm going to be bringing that even up here in just a little bit later. But in Deuteronomy 13, let's just
while you're turning there, Terry, if I can say this, that we have a lot of viewers that are not B'nai Noach.
Right.
In fact, we probably have more that's not B'nai Noach than we do that are Noahide. So a lot of these questions have come from those of other religious faiths. So that's why they're asking these questions.
Well, if you don't mind, I want to clarify that up a little bit.
Yes.
We're all B'nai Noach. That is the term that is used.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
That is used in the Torah. We're all B'nai Noach, which means we are the sons or the children of Noah. That is a Torah term that is used especially like when you're looking at Deuteronomy 9. I mean, not Deuteronomy, but Genesis chapter 9, where it talks about the covenant that God made with Noah and his children, the B'nai Noah and his children. The difference is, because of terminologies and the way things has to be, there are statuses. We can't get away from that. That's just a thing. A lot of us really don't like that, but there's terminologies that's developed over the years to help clarify where different people are as statuses in their path, in their walk. And B'nai Noah is the term for all the nations. We are the children of Noah. We are descended from the 3 sons of Noah. Israel has been separated from the rest of the nations, as it said, I think it's in Parshas Balak, where it talks about that, where God separated Israel. They are the priestly nation. Therefore, they have a different status. They're a nation of priests. And so their status, even though they're from Noah, their status was elevated to the priesthood. Now, within the B'nai Noah, there are different levels. And one of them that they kind of, in a modern term, I think I heard a rabbi say probably was coined 30, 40 years ago or so, is the word Noahide, which is an English version of B'nai Noah, but that means those who observe the commandments that came down from Adam through Noah to us. They observe the commandments of Noah, and not that they're not of Moses. Again, that's different. They're restated in the Torah, so they do come from the Torah. But the Noahides observe the 7 commandments for the nations that the nations are always supposed to be observing. And there's other levels. The wise, the Noahides are the ones who observe the commandments of God that is pertaining to them for the sake of God. The wise of the nations are the ones who observe the commandments of God. Some of them, not all of them, just different ways, because they intellectually think, it's not really a good thing to murder, and they do it based upon their own intellect. So that's the wise of the nations. And so I just want to kind of clarify, that.
Yeah.
They're just different. And it doesn't make anything as far as, I guess, in humanity. It's not saying that one is like greater than the other. It's just they do have a different walk with the Creator, and it's an elevated status. As you go and you decide you want to observe the commandments of God that He desires for us, based solely because He has told us to do so.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Okay. So you were looking for a text there you were going to read about the wonders and the
right here, the Deuteronomy 13. Let's see here.
You want me to restate how we're looking at this? What is the deciding factor outside?
Yeah, what is the deciding factor? This shares like at least one of them. In verse 6 of Deuteronomy 13 says, "And the prophet and the dreamer of dreams." Hold on, no, it goes back further than that. Let me go back here. I'm just going to go back to verse 1 and 13, even though
okay.
And this is pertaining to Israel, but there are principles there for us.
Okay.
As well. This is spoken to Israel, because in verse 1 it says, "The entire word that I have commanded you, you shall observe and do. You shall not add to it, nor shall you subtract from it. If there should stand up in your midst," in verse 2, "a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he will produce to you a sign or a wonder," miracle. We're using the word miracle today, but a sign or a wonder. "And the sign or the wonder comes about, of which he spoke to you, saying, let us follow gods of others that you did not know, and we shall worship them. Do not hearken to the words of the prophet or the dreamer of dreams, for the Creator, your God, is testing you to know whether you love Him. To love Hashem, your God, with all your heart and with all your soul. And the Creator, your God, shall you follow Him. Him shall you fear. His commandments shall you observe, and to His voice shall you hearken. Him shall you serve, and to Him shall you cleave." See, to Him. This is the only reason, that you need to observe the commandments, is because He has stated, the entire word that I command you. Now, which this is speaking to Israel here, not to us. But there's principles there we'll get to later. But here we see that this prophet was doing something, and these signs and wonders, and they came about. But on top of it, he was saying, let us follow gods of others that you did not know. So if the miracle worker is doing anything or saying anything that is opposite of what the Torah states, that is your line. You don't follow that. If he's wanting you to believe in some religion, look at this. I'm doing this. So-and-so done that. So you need to come and believe and go with us. But yet, this is not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
So, Barbara on Power Faith Radio, thank you, Barbara, for that question. Is this talking about what you have mentioned many times about, and apparently she must be listening. Is this talking about what you've mentioned many times about starting a new religion?
That's part of it. That is part of it. That is actually a major part of it. But there's more into starting a new religion, because you can start a new religion just for yourself. It doesn't require going out and formalizing and making a organized religion, is what we would say today.
Get back to the Torah question, but she asked elaborate, please. So that
elaborate.
Yeah.
On which way?
What you just said about this is not necessarily a new religion. Tell us what is it talking about when the text says, "Don't start."
Okay, don't starting a new religion. Actually, we can follow back to verse 1, where it says, you shall not add to it, nor shall you subtract from it. If you do that, you're changing what he has said, and you are making something new.
And that it is Torah, correct?
That it,
or
yes,
the commandments.
Right here it says the entire word which I command you this day, which is the Torah that he was commanding them. You shall not add to it, nor shall you subtract from it. This is also their covenant. This is their Declaration of Independence, however you want to say. It's very intense. In its simplest form, in the Torah, I'll try to hold this up. As you can see,
I'm gonna put you on speaker view real quick, Terry, so we can see that.
I can't. I'm gonna have to cover up my. Can you see that, Scotty? Is it clear?
Yes, pretty clear.
This is your Hebrew right here. It's the Hebrew right here. And we are not to change one letter, to subtract or take away from one letter. And from, in the grander stand of things, that would be the Torah scroll. That would be adding or subtracting one letter. We are not to add or subtract. We're not to make any additions to it, like creating a new festival, creating a new holy day of sorts, or creating, just things that God did not command. And you're doing that as a commandment. I want to use this as an example. There are prayers. There's a reason why those of the nations, we are not to pray the prayers of Israel, the Jews, because then you would be creating new religions in some of them. And some of these, and I learned them, I studied them for a while as I was going to join the nation for a while, until the Creator showed me that wasn't my path. But they're commandments, and I'm going to give you an example, like washing of hands. They are commanded to wash their hands. It's in the Torah. And so before they wash their hands, they're saying something in the essence of, blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us by your commandments and have commanded us in the washing of hands. So if you say that as a Gentile, that you have sanctified us by your commandments and you have commanded us, when he has not commanded us, he commanded them. And if you claim that God commanded something for you to do and he didn't, that is a falsehood, that is a lie. And then you are also setting out and creating a new religion for yourself. You are doing something that you want, and that would be adding to something that God didn't command you to do. You would be adding that. It's saying God commanded you to do that. Just like with what we talked about with Enosh, the generation of Enosh, who introduced idolatry into the world, and eventually they come to the point where they were saying that God commanded them to serve the stars as the servants of God, and he didn't. He didn't command anyone to do that. But over time, it became a commandment because their priest would raise up and say, "This is what you must do." I don't know if that helped any.
Yes, I think it did. Now, since we're on this subject, I've got some more dealing with Torah, but since we're on this subject, what are you talking about that these commandments were made to Israel? Is there a different? Okay, I thought the whole Bible was given to the whole world, and since you're talking about Torah, are you saying that there are parts of Torah, parts of text?
There are parts of Torah that are forbidden to us, that actually carries a divine death penalty that the Creator can bring upon anyone at any time.
Okay, let's should we dive into this? Let's
I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but I'm going to go into something here.
Give some type of distinction. How would we know if we was reading the text that it's
well, one thing it takes the rabbis to teach us, the ones who know the Torah, who speaks the language, the Hebrew language, who's been trained and taught. They're not novices. Just like I've got several friends that Hebrew is their native language. Several friends whose grandfather was Moses and Aaron. I've got a friend of mine in New Jersey who's direct descendant of Aaron. I believe Rabbi Moshe Shulman is a descendant of Aaron. He's a Levite. And so those people have had things that's been taught to them down through their families, through the Torah for over 3,400 years. They know their lineage and who they're from. No, the Torah was not given to the nations. Torah was not given to the nations. It was taken from Israel and it was sewed on the back of a Roman book. And then it was given out.
Handled that very well, Terry. You handled that very well.
Okay. But it was not given to the nations. And I'm going to show you text. I'm going to back up my words with this in several different areas.
Can I ask you a question, Albert? Put in just real quick while you're.
Go ahead.
I know you're going here. So I don't have that. I don't have that ability. And I live in a society where we just pick it up and start reading. How can I differentiate as I read what's being written to Israel or spoken to Israel and what's being spoken to me?
Well, to be honest with you, you're in a boat with a lot of people. Scotty and I was once there. Chris was once there. Everyone here in the Zoom room was all here, all there. We grew up that. I was an associate pastor. I didn't know until about 20 years ago, something sparked within me, and I slowly began my journey into studying the Hebrew Scriptures. But do you have to journey into the Hebrew Scriptures, into the Hebrew language to understand this? No.
That's a good question.
No, you don't have to do that. So a lot of people don't have the interest in doing that. And I mean, I know some very, very well righteous people who don't even hardly study at all, because we don't have a commandment to study. But what we do need to study is what we are commanded. So how do we know what we're commanded to do? How do we know where the boundaries are? And a lot of people don't like this, but it is the Jewish people. But God tells us that in the Hebrew Scriptures in Zechariah 8 and verse 23. Where it said, I'm going to paraphrase it right here. I didn't have plans on reading that one, but Zechariah 8:23, just write that down in your notes, was where the 10 men of the nations will come and grab a hold of the cloak of a Jew. And in the Hebrew, it says Yehuda. That means, that is translated as Jew today. That is the tribe of Yehuda. That they would grab a hold of Yehuda and actually just say, take us with you, because we know that God is with you. So we are told that we are going to turn to the Jews to know God. Zechariah 8:23. Isaiah chapter 1, starting around verse 2 or so. This is a prophecy of the time when the nations had come against Israel, and those that are says that many of the nations will stream into Jerusalem, to the mount of the Most High. The third temple will be established at that time. And the nations will actually say that we are going to the mount of the Jerusalem And God is going to teach us his ways, and we're going to walk in his paths. We're going to Jerusalem, not Rome, not Tibet, not Philadelphia, not Dallas. The nations are going to go to Jerusalem. And who's going to do the teachings? It says, so he may teach us. He is going to be teaching us through his priesthood, Israel, the Kohanim, the Levites, the priests. Again, another area where it says that the nations will, in the future, beyond our time, will be flowing into Jerusalem to do that. Matter of fact, Zechariah 14 talks about when the time when those are the nations that are left from those who rose up against Israel during the Feast of Sukkot. It says that those are the nations who are left. They shall come to Jerusalem to observe the Feast of Sukkot. And those are the nations that do not come. They will not have water, will not have rain. Again, we're going to Israel. We're going to Jerusalem. Another proof text. It's the priesthood that will be teaching us. Today, we are seeing where many people across the world, the United States is growing, but there's other places on the other side of the world that are further than we are, that have turned to Israel and said, teach us. And what they are teaching us is as the nations, we are not given the 613. Matter of fact, let me just
Terry, I got Zechariah pulled up. Would you like to go over that, or you want to just leave it the way you got it?
which one? Zechariah 14?
Zechariah, what was it? 8:23
Zechariah. Oh yeah, Zechariah.
That's up to you if you want me to share
8:23. Go ahead, read it.
what I'm gonna do is share it right here, and so everybody can see it, and explain what this is. Chabad.org.
See 8:23. Can you scroll up a little bit because it's at the bottom of the screen for me?
Oh, right here. Okay, 8:20.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so says the Hashem of hosts, in those days when them men of all the language of the nations shall take hold of the skirt of the Jewish man, which in the Hebrew is Yehuda, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Okay, this tells us a lot. That tells us the nations are going to turn to the Jewish people to learn about God. We out here in the nations are going to confess that we have heard that God is with you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. That's telling us that God is with them. It's not saying that God is not with us, because God in Psalms chapter 145 says that the Creator's compassion is on all of his creation. He takes care of all of his creation. But there's a special place that he has with Israel because they're his priest. And so we are coming to them to learn about God. But go ahead, Scotty.
What is this where it says in those days? What days is it talking about? Can we back up and see what it's talking about on those days?
I think it's in the prophetic times. It's been a while since I've looked earlier than that. But we do know, and even the rabbis have said, that we are in a preeminence of that because of so many people from the nations are doing that right now.
Okay.
We are in kind of like a precursor of a major flood that's going to happen. I was talking to someone the other day, and in my personal opinion, what we are witnessing on the earth today is a lot of individuals, just like it says there, 10 men of the nations, they're all different languages. And it's interesting how big that number is, because that number 10 is a lot larger when you can understand the depth of what it is talking about there. It's like, Scotty, what was that number one rabbi told us? Was it like a couple 100,000 or something like that per just one man?
Because I don't remember.
When you calculate what is actually saying in the Hebrew, it's really amazing. But I may be wrong, and I hope I am, because I would love to see our country turning. But when you look at the world as a whole, it just seems like there is a lot of individuals that seems to be, coming to this understanding. and turning to Israel to know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I don't want to be pessimistic, but it just seems like I just don't see the nations doing that yet. To me, that is still in the future, like Isaiah. Certain things are going to have to happen and on this planet that I think is going to cause, when it says the nations will flow to Jerusalem. And I would love to see that in our day. That would just be awesome, because see, one thing about prophecy, Jewish prophecy, it's in the Jewish writings, is all negative prophecies, those that have like a negative outcome, can be changed. They don't have to happen. Just like we witnessed that with Nineveh. The Creator was going to destroy Nineveh because of what it was doing. But they repented, and God said he saw their deeds, that they repented. And that negative prophecy for Nineveh was turned because the people had repented and turned. Mm-hmm. And the world will have that opportunity, I think, in the future. I would love to see it now, see the nations repent, but there's so much when we look at it. But we know that this is all setting up for, everything's being set up for what's going to happen in the future. But right now I see a lot of individuals that are coming to the Jewish people and hearing a lot. There's a lot of people in the Philippines. There's people in, I believe Rabbi Goldberg had told us about a village in, I think, Russia. A whole village turned and started observing the 7 commandments and calling upon the God of Israel. And I mean, there is, on the other side of the planet from where we are here in the United States, there's a lot of stuff going on. And we're playing catch up, so to speak.
So Betty asked one more time, okay, so what would be the tall tale signs? She must be country. Betty, you must be country. You must be from around here.
Yeah, that's good.
Tall tale signs when I read it, that tells me God is talking to Israel or God is talking to the nations. Actually, she said the other people.
Actually, in the Torah, he's not talking to the nations. He's
okay.
every bit of it, he's talking to Israel.
Are the nations referred?
Israel or the nations are mentioned. And Israel, part of Israel's job is to teach us what God has told them that we are supposed to be doing.
So you've just opened up another can of worms.
I know that I opened up all kinds of cans of worms.
What are you talking about? That Torah, we're talking about Torah.
We're talking about Torah. Was
written to Israel. Cover this. Let's talk about this.
Okay. I was prepared for this one.
Okay. Okay.
Get your pens and papers out, and your iPads, whatever you want.
It's going to blow up. I can just tell you, it's going to blow up.
I'm fine with this. One of the first ones is in Exodus chapter 20.
Can I go there real quick while
Exodus chapter 20?
I'm going to find it first. Go ahead. Let me
start out primary verse 1 and 2.
Okay, hold on.
Or whatever you want to pull it up.
I'm
going to make some
statements
20. That's going to get me in trouble, but this is just part of it.
Exodus chapter 20. And let me go ahead and share this. Hold on, let me get this shared. Again, I'm doing the Chabad.org. Exodus chapter 20. And where do you want to go?
Just you can leave it right there where you're at.
Okay.
If everybody can see that, okay.
Okay.
This is the first part of the section that's called the 10 Commandments, which is not the 10 Commandments. The word commandment is not in the passage, in the language. It's actually the 10 sayings, the Devarim.
Okay.
It's the 10 sayings. Okay. Number 2. Let me just grab something here.
Nobody can see you. But I guess that's
guys,
okay.
This is live.
This is live. This is not memorized.
And I told you it was impromptu because Scotty didn't tell me anything until he messaged me while I was in the car on the way home eating my chicken fingers.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't get a text back. Okay. I'm just going to tell you, this is what I call this. Scotty, can everybody see this? Oh, wait a minute. You got screen share on.
Let me take screen share off. Hold on. Now, what are you talking about?
This is the 10 Commandments that most people are familiar.
I'm going to put you on speaker view. Hold on just a minute.
You got me there? This is the 10 Commandments that most people are familiar with. This is what I call the Christian 10. It's not the Torah 10. It's the Christian 10, established by the creators of the things that they say. Whoop, that was loud.
Yeah, fix your
Hold on,
focus.
Let's see here. Let me do this real quick.
He's going to go out and come back real quick. And he is back.
There we go.
Okay, tell us, what are you talking about?
The reason why I call this the Christian 10 that you're going to see in most churches, there's something important that is left out of there. I feel personally, my personal opinion, it's left out on purpose because it's one of these areas. Was it Betty who you said that asked the question?
Betty, yeah.
This is one of the things that if it was there, people like Betty would be going, huh? But you have to think about it because most time I never thought about it, be honest with you. As many times I've read this 100 million times, I've never thought about this until I actually started studying and learning what things said. But Scott, if you want to put back up Genesis chapter 20, this is actually part of the first saying or the first commandment, but it's actually the first saying.
Are we talking about this part right here?
This part right here is left out. It's not on your list. When next time you go to church, go up, read the list, and take your Bible, open it up to Genesis chapter 20, and see if this passage right here is at the very top of that.
So what we're saying, the first commandment to Israel is
right
here.
It says, I am Hashem your God, who has taken you out of the land of Egypt from the house of slavery. And then it goes on. Here it starts with verse 3, where it says, you shall not recognize any other gods. You shall not have any other gods before me.
Now, I don't know if you did.
The 10 that you're going to be seeing on plaque starts with verse 3. Not verse
2.
1.
1, okay.
Where it says, God spoke all these statements saying.
Okay.
And let me see here. Yeah, in verse 1, it says, V'daber Elohim es. God spoke these statements saying, I am Hashem your God. That's the tetragram, the 4-letter word. I am Hashem your God, who has taken you out of the land of Egypt and from the house of slavery. This is referring to everything you're going to read after that. Folks, he didn't take us out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of slavery. He took Israel.
Wow. Yes. That is.
So people, we are not given the 10 commandments. They were given to Israel. We were not given these 10. Matter of fact, a rabbi, a very well international known rabbi, said that this section of scripture, the 10 commandments, is, what was the word he used, Scotty? They don't hold up without the 7 that the nations are given, because even Israel's given the 7. They have to observe. And do you know why these don't hold up without the 7? Though the 7 is the 7, not all of the 7 is implemented in this. There's parts of the 7 that is expanded for Israel, and there's a few things that God gave Israel that He didn't give us. Is within the 7, we have the commandment to establish courts of law. courts of justice.
Yeah.
That commandment is not in here. So these by themselves doesn't establish harmonious societies as we are supposed to be doing. These were given to Israel. The idolatry is expanded here. Theft is expanded here. And loving your mother and father, these are all different. These are actual 10 separate sayings and things that Israel has to do. And the Sabbath is not here. People read this and they hold it up. I mean, I was raised in a Sabbatarian church, and we used to, because we didn't have this first passage and understand it. Those who, the Gentiles observing the seventh day Sabbath is stealing from Israel. I didn't know that. Because I want to show you, this belongs to Israel and not us. This is not our property. Okay. I'm going to jump over here to Psalms real quick. Psalms 147. Thought I had this highlighted. Let me see. Psalms 147 and verse 19.
Can I go there in the Chabad?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want English and Hebrew or just English?
It doesn't matter. You pull it up the way you've been doing it.
Okay.
Psalms 147, verse 19.
Verse 19. And let me go ahead and get this shared right here so they can kind of follow along, those that's watching the videos. So, okay.
Psalms 147, verse 19. He relates his word to Jacob, his statutes and judgments to Israel. He did not do so for any other nation, such judgments, they do not know them.
Wow. Okay.
One more place, and then we can discuss this.
Okay, where are you going?
This is the primary. We're going to Deuteronomy chapter 33.
Okay.
Verse 4.
Let me get to 33 and verse 4.
And I'm going to read you a couple of teachings or commentary from the sages and Torah scholars of Israel.
So we're talking about this verse right here.
Right here. The Torah that Moses commanded us, because remember with verse 19, God spoke to Moses in the presence of the people that they may believe in him forever. That's why when you try to convert Jews to another religion, they were not commanded to believe in anyone but Moses. Because God said he did that so that they would believe in him forever. And it's been passed down throughout their generations. But here in Deuteronomy chapter 4, it says, the Torah that Moses commanded us is the heritage of the congregation of Jacob. It says here, the Torah is the heritage. The Torah is an inalienable possession of Israel, transmitted from generation to generation. That's the reason why the word heritage is used. Rabbi Mordecai Gifter explains that the difference between inheritance and heritage is an inheritance belongs to its heirs to use and dispose as they please. But a heritage, however, is the property of the generation before and after. It's incumbent upon their heirs to preserve it intact.
Now, I would like to say the difference in what you're reading from and what we had. You're reading Art Scroll.
This is from the Art Scroll.
And we were looking at the Chabad.
Pull up the Chabad again. Let me see what it is. The Chabad uses an old GPS one, which I don't care for GPS, but when they put this website together, that's what they
JPS.
add.
You mean JPS?
JPS, what did I say?
GPS.
Yeah, JPS.
You're traveling on a journey.
I'm traveling on a journey.
So they use the word.
The Torah of Moses commanded is the word legacy, but in the Hebrew, it's heritage or legacy as well, but it's heritage, meaning it's passed down from generation to generation. It's the property of the generation now, and it's the property of the generation that is to come, and therefore it is incumbent upon the generation before to keep it intact. so it doesn't change. Just like this. I like how this Rabbi Kaplan brought this little statement out here on the Torah, where it says, we know in Malachi 3 or something like that,
You want me
where
to
it
go
says
through
God doesn't change. No, that just came to my mind, so I may not.
Okay,
I know it's
okay.
in Malachi. I always get it backwards because there's two verses that's like 6:3 and 3:6. I can't remember which one's which. But in Malachi, it says that the Creator does not change. Okay, so Rabbi Kaplan has, like right here, it says, just as God himself does not change, so the Torah, which is his eternal testimony to Israel, cannot be changed. Moses said, you shall not add to the word which I've commanded you, nor shall you subtract from it. You must keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I have commanded you. Deuteronomy chapter 4, 2. Therefore, no commandment of Torah can ever be abrogated or changed. Nothing can be changed. What's interesting here is before the death of Moses, Moses wrote 13 Torah scrolls, 12 for each. 12 of these were given to the 12 tribes. The 13th was placed inside the Ark of the Covenant. This was eventually deposited in the Holy of Holies in the temple. When Jerusalem was in danger of invasion, King Josiah hid the ark containing the original Torah and the tablets of the 10 commandments. It was concealed in a catacomb that had been prepared by King Solomon when he had built the first temple, and is still there to this day. When the third temple was brought out, is built, the Ark of the Covenant will be brought out from the place where it was put, the place where King Solomon, David's father, prepared a place for it in the event this would happen. And inside that ark, when it is established in the third temple, the temple in Ezekiel 36, within that, it will be a scroll that was written by the hand of Moses.
Wow.
And the tablets of the 13 commandments in which he wrote the second set on Mount Sinai and God, that will be established at the pinnacle and the top of the world at the temple.
Okay, I got one more question. I know we're at 9:00.
I know.
But
We're fine.
This is a question by
You don't
Albert.
have gates to lock tonight, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, then you ain't got no excuses.
This is Albert asked this Monday, and he's reiterated it tonight with dealing with what you're dealing with. So if the Torah is the basis, sorry, I'm getting a frog in my throat. If the Torah is the basis, and I if it's okay, Albert, I kind of fit this to my able to ask it in my terminology. Every text outside of Torah must fit the parameters of the Torah. If they do not, what do you do with them? If a text does not fit the parameters of the Torah, what is that, a garbage can?
Garbage can.
Okay. So you mean we just throw it away?
You throw it away. If it does not hold up to Torah, it's a lie. Why would you observe a lie?
Wow. Okay, that's a that's a question for a question right there, Terry.
I know that, but I'm just being dramatic there, guys.
Yeah.
The Torah, the Tanakh, what we call the Tanakh, the Hebrew Scriptures, is the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. The Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. The Nevi'im, the prophets, and the Ketuvim, the writings, have to, when they were codifying all this, when the great sages of Israel was bringing this together, has to back up the Torah 100%. If not, it's not usable. all of the prophets. I got a question today from a lady. I haven't got a chance to answer her back on my text yet that she texted me, but it deals with this. So if she is listening to this, it'll give her answer, but I'm going to answer her anyhow, because she was asking about the place of the prophets. The prophets with us, the place of the prophets with us is not really any place. They're for Israel. All the prophets are for Israel. We are mentioned in there, generally not in a good way, because of generally how we've treated Israel. We really have no need to study the prophets other than for educational purposes only, not for spiritual purposes, because the prophets were sent to Israel. Everything is to Israel. The Torah is to Israel. Now, Israel's job is to teach us. Now, when Adam, like we covered, we're going to cover again when we start going through Genesis again, especially Genesis 2:16. When God commanded Adam, he commanded Adam he commanded him 6 commandments. Well, people want to look, well, where is that list of 6 thou shalt? This is before the Torah was given publicly to Israel, and it wasn't done in that fashion. The commandments came to Adam as Adam developed as a human being and as his relationship with the Creator grew. Things were being revealed. Like, I've got this one thing. What is that? I'm reading this book right here. It's a very deep intellectually written book. So I have to read it a little bit at a time, sometimes a paragraph at a time. It's called The Emergence of Ethical Man. And I can't never pronounce that rabbi's Rabbi Joseph. I can't ever pronounce his name. I mess it up when I got my part, East Tennessee language here, trying to say that hard name. But he goes through and he shows like man is organism, man is plant. And it's going through all the scriptures where how man was created from the beginning, his beginning stage, from the time that the Creator breathed air and life into his body. And he's going through the development of man. And I've never really studied the subject of man like he's done. And he's using the book of Genesis, showing the physical and spiritual development of man. And he starts out, he's like an organism. He's like a plant, and he's going through all the different passages in Torah that refers to him. Matter of fact, man is referred to as a plant, as a tree, more times through the prophets than any other thing. And then he brings to the point where then God speaks to man, where he says, be fruitful and multiply. This is the first time and the only time that God actually spoke to his creation. And the only part of creation he spoke to was man. So then man now becomes not only, an animal organism, he's now becomes a speaking creature. So he's still being developed. By the time we get to Genesis chapter 2:16, where it says, V'asaf Hashem Elohim Adam, then God gives man his first commandment. And that commandment was only for that time period, that very specific day. He began to develop, and as the way Rabbi Hirsch puts it, that passage is when man begins his ethical and moral training. So he's gone from a basic being to a being that speaks and can hear and hold a conversation. Now he's being brought into ethics and morality. See, it's phases. When you start seeing Genesis and learning this, you start seeing him in phases. And now he's learning ethics and morals, and that God is commanding him. And so man is this development of man that I'm learning about from just looking at Genesis and the Torah is very, very fascinating. But the prophets are for Israel. The book of Genesis, Baruch Hashem, the Creator in the beginning, is where I spend a lot of my time. Most of it, very rarely get past chapter 9. So all of that has to support, the prophets has to support Torah, the writings, the Psalms, the Proverbs, and all of that. And actually, the book of Daniel is not a book of prophecy. It's in the writings. And there's a reason why. See, that was changed as well by the other group that took it from its rightful place and put it in the prophets, and it's not in the prophets. It's in the writings. And so all of that has to back up the Torah. Now, the books that were created by the nations outside of the Torah, they have no validity. We have no voice in what the Torah says and what it means. We can say, well, I don't believe that. That's not what I believe it means. That don't mean anything because it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Israel. And I hate to say that. I had to come to that realization for myself, that the Torah belongs to Israel, and Israel has the only commanded right to tell us what it says and what it means. And so God gave Adam these 6 commandments the way he did. And it grew through development, like I was just sharing, how Adam was developing as a creature. And so did these commandments. They developed. And we learned through the relationship with Adam and with Noah and them, and before that, what God desired and what he wanted. And they became the commandments. Well, over a period of time, man left that. And God gave a covenant. When I'm going to cover the covenant of Genesis 9 tonight, we'll do that in a whole lesson that supports the 7 commandments. When God reaffirmed the commandments at Mount Sinai to Noah, the authority of observing the commandments no longer comes from Noah as it did before Mount Sinai. Now it comes under Moses, our teacher, because God reaffirmed all these, because I believe I read it here the other day. Genesis chapter 24, somewhere in, not Genesis, Exodus 24 there somewhere, where it says that he wrote down all the words in the commandments, and the rabbi says what he wrote down was the commandments that God gave Adam through Noah, what we call the Noahide laws today. He wrote them down, and he wrote the book of Genesis and up through Exodus chapter 20. In that passage there, that's the sages teaches us that's what he wrote at that time, reaffirming the commandments that God gave Adam through Noah. Now they were being reaffirmed through Moses in the Torah, making them valid and what we are supposed to keep to the day. But it's Israel's jobs now, because it's their property, to teach us what it all says and what it means. Go ahead, Scotty.
Now, so is this why the Jewish people or the rabbis are the priests of the nations?
They are the priests of the nations. Now, as you grow in learning and in your knowledge, some of the things, and I'll be honest with you, things that I have thought, why didn't I know this already? Why did I waste 40 years where I was at? I was kind of upset. Well, part of it is our fault. Actually, a lot of it's our fault for several reasons. Every time that the Jewish people set out to teach us our obligation to God, they pretty much get their head cut off or put in some kind of, concentration camp. Matter of fact, there are writings within the Catholic Church that actually forbade the Jews to teach the Noahide laws.
Yep.
There's writings there in their own writings, the Catholic Church writings, where it's written in their books, they forbade the Jews to teach the Gentiles these things. But the things started to change several years ago. And in our timeline. And actually, the Jews are still very uncomfortable with us coming to them and saying, you have an obligation to teach us what God wants. There's some that won't, because it's just, this last century, there's too much. I mean, sorry, but look what's just going on right now. Gentiles that hate them. You know, every time they step out and they try to work with us, something happens. But people throughout the ages have come to Israel. They, in the past, I can't remember the Greek word. I've got it in one of my books. But in English, they're called the God-fearers. The God-fearers were the ones who would come to Israel. There was actually, believe it or not, there's records, actually documented records of tons of Roman soldiers that converted to Israel and began either become Jews or became God-fearers. Because when the Roman soldiers would get along with them, and they would say, but this is how you're supposed to live. It matches with their natural humanity that they wanted to be to begin with. That's one beautiful thing about the Noahide laws. It is our humanity, who we're supposed to be as humans. That's why it resonates within us so well, and that's what it's designed to do. But we've been around for a long time. It's just right now in history, the rabbis are saying there's never been a time like this in history since the creation of the earth. And especially since Mount Sinai, has never been so many of the nations coming to them saying, can you teach us now? We're ready.
Okay, Terry. My. We could probably go on a few hours like this.
But I feel like I know, I don't feel like I didn't completely answer Betty's question. And I don't want her to feel like I didn't mean to. It's just, as you learn what the Torah is and where our boundaries are, a good place to start is to learn the 7 Noahide laws, which is easy. Just learn them. They don't have to be in any particular order. And if you're looking at the Torah and you look at this basis, okay, we're just going to start with like number one, not necessarily means number one, but number one, prohibition of idolatry. You know, the belief in the worship of the one true God of Israel. Blasphemy, you know, don't curse God. Murder, you shall not, shed the blood of another human being, which goes deeper and deeper into that. I mean, even bodily harm, even to yourself. You shall not murder. Then theft, what's not yours, leave it alone. Forbidden sexual relations. And a man shall leave his mother and his father and cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh. That verse says a lot. I won't go into it, but that verse says a lot. Let's see. Idolatry, blasphemy, murder, theft, forbidden sexual relations. And then we have the courts of justice. We're supposed to set up courts of justice based upon these 6 laws right there. And then the 7th was given to Noah after the flood, when he gave us the permission to eat meat. He gave us a commandment. Our dietary law is you shall not eat meat taken from a living animal. The animal has to be dead. It's cruel to eat the meat. And there's also spiritual significance of eating meat that is taken while the animal is still alive. That is our only dietary law that he gave us. And those are the 7. So when you're reading the Torah, Betty, and you see a commandment, if it goes beyond those 7, then we know that's not for us. If it's talking about Sabbath, if it's talking about holy days, if it's talking about seed seats, if it's talking about certain types of prayer, things like that. If it's got certain things that put it this way, stay out of the book of Ecclesiastes, Leviticus. Matter of fact, that the nickname of that book among Israel is called Kedoshim, a book of holiness. There are elements that we can learn in there about idolatry that we could gain from, like, we're not supposed to be soothsayers and divination and things like that. But that book really has nothing for us. That's given to Israel. So if you can take these 7, and in your reading of the Torah, and it doesn't fit there, I mean, if it's going to be a square peg in a round hole, it doesn't fit, then that's not for you. I hope that helps.
I think it did. I think it does, Terry. Thank you so much. Well, okay, we covered quite a bit on Torah tonight, didn't we?
And feel free to send questions anytime. Like you said, Scotty, that's what Scotty and I, we do. Our teacher, we've done this for 2 years, Scotty, with our teacher on his YouTube channel. And then him and another one of our teachers came to us and said, it's time for, because here's the thing. You will have Noahide teachers out there, the ones who are actually set forth by their teachers, that's been sitting under their teachers for a while and learn. The rabbis know that they can only go so far. They can teach us the basics of the 7 laws, but they don't live on our side of the fence. See, there are things for us that if we did, it's a sin for them. It's one of the reasons why God says, don't learn the ways of the nations. That's not necessarily a negative thing. Of course, at the time it was written, there was a lot of idolatry. And if I tell you some of the ways they worship their gods, you have to go to the bathroom, and it was very sickening. And so God said, don't learn those ways. But on a positive aspect, the reason why God doesn't want Israel to learn the ways of the nations, because there are things for us that is not a sin. That is not a sin for us, but it's a sin for them. But on the other hand, there are things that God commanded them is a sin for us to do, even though it's a commandment. Scotty, I want to end with one thing.
Okay.
Because I said that, it reminded me. Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. Matter of fact, this is our teacher's favorite passage. There's almost a class that went by. He didn't quote this, I don't think, Scotty.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes 12, verse 13 says, the sum of the matter, when all has been considered, fear God, keep his commandments. That is the whole duty of man. Now, what's interesting, the Hebrew actually doesn't say man's whole duty. It says, Kizeh Ho Ha'adam. And what that literally says, that to fear God and to keep his commands is all man, meaning that is your existence. To be a human being, called Adam. Yeah, right there. The end of the matter, everything having been heard. Fear God, keep his commandment. This is the entire man. And actually, that's a really good translation right there, because it's Kol Adam, all. It's all man, all Adam is what that's actually literal translation. To fear God and to keep his commandments is what you were created to be. Now, to keep his commandments doesn't mean that when you read a commandment in the Torah, well, I'm going to go keep it because it says keep his commandments. This is where the training from Israel comes in. Because even like, matter of fact, one of the rabbis that we learn under, who's doing some classes, was covering this. There are commandments that are given to the Levites. There are commandments that are given to the Kohanim that the Levites can't do. Because if they did, sometimes some of them can be considered a death penalty even for them. And the commandments that are given to the Levites, the other Jews that are not Levites of the other tribes are not permitted to do. And if they did it, there are penalties for that, even up to death. So even when the Jewish people read, keep his commandments, there's 613 separate mitzvot. And then their categories. They have categories underneath those that goes with those. They're not separate commandments, but they're parts, they're definitions of that command, like the way Rabbi Shulman puts it. They're definitions explaining that commandment. They're not permitted to do them. Not everyone's permitted to do every one of them. There are commandments given to men. There are commandments given to women. There's commandments given to married people, like the laws of Nidah. If you're not married, you can't observe the laws of Nidah. That's the laws of separation when a woman is her monthly. There are laws that they have to follow, purity laws. And so there are purity laws for a woman that a man can't view. A man can say, "Oh, God commanded that. I'm going to go do that." Well, when did the man have a monthly? So he can't observe that commandment. So he even categorized the commandments among Israel. And that's where we see how the nations have just the 7. We have the 7 categorical, where there's 7 categorical commandments. There's only 7, not 8, not 9, not 10. There's 7, but they're categorical, and the categories that come under that defines that commandment.
Yeah.
And so that's why it takes some learning. But that's why I'm saying, Betty, if you just learn just those 7, the basics, and when you read something that doesn't match with it, you stay away from it. You're gonna keep yourself safe. But even within Israel, there have been statements saying that no one can keep all the commandments. Even God knew that, because he didn't give all of them to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're based on how he made them. Think about this. Sorry, Scotty, I'm going on.
No, you're good. You're good.
Just want you to think about this. What I love about Rabbi Hirsch when he talks about the law of species out of Genesis chapter 1, 11, and 12, that every species has a law amongst itself. An oak tree has its own laws that it has to live by. And a cornstalk has its own laws. And they don't try to keep each other's, because a cornstalk was made to be a cornstalk, to produce corn. An oak tree produces acorns, and a pear tree produces pear trees. And so God designed creation, and all of its creations has particular laws that each one lives by. And when you go outside, and if you look at an oak tree, or so let's say you walk up and look at a red oak, that red oak looks identical to the red oak that was in the Garden of Eden, because it has maintained the law, which it can't violate it because of the way it's built into it, but it has divine laws that maintains its essence as a red oak. So we are the same. God pulled Israel out of humanity, just like he pulled woman out of man. He took woman out of man and made a new creation. And she herself has laws that the male counterpart does not have, and vice versa. Israel was separated from the nations and taken unto God as a priestly nation, and was given laws distinctly for their purpose and their being. The rest of us, I'm a Gentile, and I have learned to just really like the fact that God made me a Gentile. There's a blessing of the Jewish women, which is really appropriate for us, where it says, "Blessed are you, Hashem our God, King of the universe, who has made me according to your will." I am made according to the will of God. I'm not made to keep the Sabbath. I'm not made to eat kosher. I'm not made to observe holidays. I'm not made to wear seats. I'm made to observe 7 commandments, because this is where God placed me. This is my divine law and who I'm supposed to be as the human being that God made me. That's why I don't need theirs. Don't need anybody else's. I just need what he has designed for his will for me. And when I finally grasped the fact that I have got to learn to be happy and joyful in the way God made me.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason to, unless you want to go and become a part of the Jewish nation, which there are some that are, and I went that route for a while until I found, after 7 years of intense study, this wasn't my path. And when I recognized that and I prayed to the Creator for that, my world began to change and open up. Because see, there's some people, they're jealous of the Jewish people. They have this and they have that. But you know what I have? I have things that he doesn't give them. He has things they give them that I can't have, but I have things that he's given me that when you begin to worship the Creator and who he made you and follow his commands, because this is what he wants you to do, to be his human being, man, it will,
Yeah.
talking about your mind opening up and being totally free and not having to worry about a lot of things. So I know, Scotty, I took us a little over.
Oh, you're good. You're good. It's perfect timing. I'm going
to. The thing about it is Ecclesiastes saying, when we learn the commandments that we are supposed to do, and Israel teaches us that, and Israel has taught us, it's these 7. We study these 7, and there's a lifetime of studying these. You can learn the basics, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but the depth of them in life, like theft is the major one. I mean, it's very, 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 very deep on that alone, that you can study and think about. I had a situation at work the other day that opened my minds to an area of theft that I didn't think about. And it's digital. It's digital. It's nothing that I could actually take. And the rabbis even talk about non-movable objects and how theft deals with that. But so don't think it's just 7 and there's nothing to learn. There's a lifetime to learn. But when he says, when you keep the commandments of the Creator, like for us, the 7, you become the entire human being that God desired you to be. And that's when you can grasp that, there will be a joy in your heart that I can't explain to you. So anyhow, go ahead, Scotty.
All right. Terry, thank you so much. I think it's an awesome class. Y'all come back next week on Wednesday. And
if you ask questions, you're going to get another one just like this. That's all right.
You're going to get another one just like this. So we want to thank Power Faith Radio. We want to thank Outreach Noah YouTube channel. We want to thank A Simple Walk YouTube channel. And we want to thank Outreach Noah. Did I say YouTube channel already?
Yeah.
Okay. I did. I got them all in already. I started to go through them all again. So, and listen, you can send us an email. Just send your email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. And while you're at it, go visit the webpage, outreachnoah.com. Everybody, we thank you so much. Terry, thank you for letting us put you on the hot seat. And we will see everybody next week.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.